Evening everyone, hope you're all well and welcome to this very special interview. My guest today has played for and managed both West Ham and AFC Bournemouth, whilst also having spells at Portsmouth, Southampton, QPR, Tottenham, Birmingham and the Jordan national team. Successes haven't only been in football, however, and he has released a number of books, TV shows and was even crowned King of the Jungle. Now, before I welcome on my guest, I do have two people that will be conducting the interview with me. So it's a pleasure to welcome him onto the show, Jack Goodwin. How are you, Jack?
I'm all right, thank you, other than Preston North End's dismal defeat yesterday, but I'm all right.
Excellent stuff. And Amy Clement, how are you, Amy?
Yeah, all good. Also suffered a defeat yesterday, a derby defeat. So, but hey ho, we're here. New day. Let's go.
Yeah, same here as well with the defeat against Southampton. So we won't discuss that. And it is a pleasure to welcome on King of the Jungle, Harry Redknapp.
Good morning, guys.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Harry. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Excellent stuff. And thank you for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. So let's start at the very, very beginning. In 1947, growing up in London, what were your early memories like? And when did your love for football begin?
Well, very early. My dad was a good footballer. He was a prisoner of war. 3 years, came back, and really should have been a pro. I'm not, he played top amateur non-league football as it was in them days, but he was a real good player. So he just lived for football, lived for sport, my dad, and he was a massive Arsenal fan. So every Saturday he worked in the docks, and every Saturday he'd find the money to just, we'd stand up in the corner at Arsenal. We'd get there sort of 12 o'clock. From the age of 5 or 6, he used to take me with him. And we'd be there. I actually saw the last game the Busby Babes play before Munich. Probably maybe the best team I've ever seen. They came to Arsenal and they beat Arsenal that day at Highbury. Duncan Edwards and Dave Coleman, Roger Byrne, Tommy Taylor, all that great Man United team flew off to play in the European Cup in Belgrade, and obviously, as you know, they stopped to refuel in Munich, and then the snow came, and then that was when the Munich air crash happened. But so I went to Arsenal every week with my dad and saw lots of great players, Tom Finney, Stanley Matthews, and so yeah, football was my life.
Harry, I understand, even though you went to watch Arsenal at a young age, you were spotted by Tottenham at a young age of 11 and then later moved to West Ham United. You played alongside some big names in your career. Who were the best players you've played alongside?
Well, Bobby Moore was incredible. Bobby was the captain of the club when I left school at 15 and went to West Ham. Bobby was already captain of the team. He'd have only been 21, I suppose, at the time. He was just so special. But when you look back on it, I mean, we had 3 players in the team that I sort of played in that went on to play in the World Cup winning team. And what a day for West Ham. Bobby captained the team. Jeff Hurst got the hat-trick. Martin Peters scored the other goal. So West Ham had a real influence on that World Cup winning team for sure. And so it was a great time to be there. We had an incredible football manager, Ron Greenwood. He was the best coach I've ever seen by a million miles. And it was just a great education to be there and be around people at the club at that time. People like Malcolm Allison, John Bond, Noel Cantwell, Dave Sexton, Jimmy Andrews. They all went on to become great managers. So that you couldn't help but to learn from them people. And what he did, Ron Greenwood, with us as well at an early age, sort of 17, 18. We all used to go into schools in the afternoon in Newham. We all got jobs in the schools. We used to get £2.50 an afternoon. And as soon as we finished training, we'd dash straight off to the school that we worked at and we'd coach the kids all afternoon. So he got us all into coaching very, very early, and it was a fantastic. I used to love it going back in. I used to coach at a school, a couple of schools actually. I moved from Forest Gate School, and I ended up at Pretoria School, and I shared the job with Frank Lampard and John Bond as well, who was out of work at the time, and he'd finished playing. And so the three of us used to go to the school in the afternoon and coach the kids.
Wow. So, Harry, you mentioned your dad was very influential in your early football career, but what other footballers did you look up to and why?
Well, it was mostly probably all the great players. You know, even though we used to go to Arsenal, my dad would say, "Oh, Stanley Matthews is playing in London today. He's at Chelsea. Let's go to Chelsea." And we'd try to get. We'd only stand up. We couldn't afford a seat, but we'd get there early and we'd go and watch Stanley Matthews or Tom Finney. They were the best players when I was growing up. Duncan Edwards was. Duncan had got killed in South Munich when he was only I don't know what, he'd have been 21, I think, when he got killed. He was, but so we just wouldn't maybe go to Arsenal. We'd go and see where the great players were that day, and we'd go and watch them play. We just loved football. We loved watching football and good footballers.
Harry, is there much difference between the old school footballers and today's modern players?
Yeah, a big difference. I mean, there were so many, lots and lots and lots of great players about in the day. Believe you me, incredible players who would have been amazing players now. So yeah, it was very different. When you went to football back in them days, you'd go to the game and you would mix. There was no segregation back when I'm talking about back in late 50s, early 60s. There was no. You went there and we'd go and stand at Arsenal in the corner. My dad would take a flask and a couple of cheese rolls, and we'd stand there. We'd get there 2 hours before kick-off. So there was a manhole cover that used to stick up about 18 inches above the terracing that we could get on, and that was my spot every week because I was only very young. But you'd mix with the away supporters if it was Man United, say. There was no. What the Man United didn't stand in that end, and we were in this end. You just went wherever you got a ticket. So you'd stand there, and my dad would chat to the people from. How long did it take you to get from Manchester a day? 8 hours. In them days there were no motorways, probably just all B roads. And you'd share a cup of tea with them and have a chat with them, and it was very, very different. There was no obscene chants or no aggravation, no violence. Very, very different.
And you played 149 times for West Ham. You mentioned that it was different in the stands. Was it different playing back then to what you imagine it would be like playing on the pitch now? And what were your best memories as a West Ham United footballer?
Well, I suppose you always remember making your league debut, and playing at home. And, I played in my last game on the Saturday. I played in the youth team. And on the Monday night, the first team had got beat on the Saturday at West Brom 3-0. So on the Monday night, it was only the second game of the season. I was in the first team. So I went from playing from the youth team straight into the first team. So that was always, when you get the call up the first time, is always special. But no, it was just great times. I think the atmosphere was always great. Upton Park, in fact, the crowd would sing "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles," and they'd sway. It was just the old chicken run. It was a great, very iconic stadium where 40-odd thousand people would be jammed in somehow. And it made for a great atmosphere. And the pitch was the edge of the pitch would only be, probably 3 foot away from the terracing, where they really could give the away players some stick, the crowd at West Ham back in them days.
And then, of course, you made the move down to Dean Court and AFC Bournemouth.
Yeah.
How did the move come about, and what was your best memories of the time here?
Well, I played with John. John Bond was coming to the end of his career at West Ham, and I was a young player coming through. And then, John was out of work for a little spell, and he used to come working at the school in the afternoons with me and Frank Lampard. And then John got the Bournemouth job, and he asked me to come here and play. And at the time, I mean, that Bournemouth had a fantastic group of players, Ted McDougall, Phil Boyer, just so many. I've got me cup of coffee now. I'm okay, guys. They had so many good players. And John had built a team, say Boyer and McDougall and Boyer. What a front pair they were. I mean, they were just incredible. They went on what a career. They went on to play at Norwich, Southampton. Scored goals year after year after year. He just bought so many good players, and we had a boy here called Alan Groves, who I still say was one of the best players I've ever seen in my life. Groves. He came from Shrewsbury Town. What a talent! He was a late developer, been a lorry driver, came into football very late. He was just an incredible talent. 6 foot tall, powerful left winger, quickest. I've never seen anyone as quick off the mark as him. Could dribble and beat people like you'd never seen. But we had a real good team. Unfortunately, John then got the offer to go to Norwich and went to Norwich, and most of the team went to Norwich with him. And it showed you how good they were. They all went on to play for Norwich in the Premier League, or the top division as it was. It wasn't the Premier League, then it was Division 1. But it was, it was the top division. And people like Mel Machin, who was a great right back, Tony Powell, Dave Jones, Fred Davis, John Benson, John Sainty, the whole group of them en masse almost went to Norwich. John knew they were good players and took them all to play at Norwich City, and so it was the team sort of got broken up, and that was it really.
So then I think you went to Brentford, and then you went over to play in America. So what was that like?
Yeah, I went to Seattle. Jimmy Gabriel, who played with me at Bournemouth. Jimmy was a great player as well. Jimmy played for Everton when they won the FA Cup, played for Scotland, played for Southampton, came to Bournemouth. We signed on the same day for Bournemouth. And we lived on the little Riversley estate in Muddyford, at Purewell. Jimmy, myself, and a boy called Bobby Howell. Bobby was also a player at West Ham who signed for Bournemouth. And they went over. Jimmy went to America to play first year, and he became coach of the Sounders. And he asked me and Bobby to go over there and play and coach with him. Bobby went as coach, and I went over there to play and to coach. And it was an amazing time. I mean, we had a great time there. We played in the Kingdome, 66,000 all-seater stadium. My first game there, we arrived on the Saturday. On the Wednesday night, the Kingdome was officially open, the first game ever to be played in there. It was a full house, 66,000 people in Seattle, and we played the New York Cosmos with Pele. Pele played for them, Carlos Alberto, the captain of the great Brazilian 1970 World Cup team. They were just a team of superstars, the Cosmos, Franz, Beckenbauer. And that was our first game, 66,000 people in the Kingdome. And that's where we played our home games. And we averaged crowds of 28,000 people there. It was an amazing time. So many good players were there. The whole league was full up with the world's best players, if you like. Everybody was going to America. Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst came. Johan Cruyff played. All that Dutch team, Neeskins and Rensenbrink, all the great Dutch World Cup team, and all the great Brazilian players from the 70s team. Everybody was going to. George Best was there. It was an amazing time to be out there playing.
So did the coaching in America spur you on to go on to management, or had you known from an earlier age that management was the career for you?
Well, I like coaching. I do. I just love football anyway. And so, I used to say coach the kids at school every afternoon. I got my coaching badge when I was 21. And he encouraged us all to get into coaching, Ron Greenwood, at a very early age. He thought it would enlighten our understanding of the game as players to get a coaching badge as well, and so that was great. And when the opportunity, I went to America and I struggled with my knee. I had a real bad knee injury that kept me out for over a year at West Ham, and then I came to Bournemouth and it was the same again. It was a real problem for me, and so I went out to America and ended up playing and then coaching out there with Jimmy. Was a manager, and we got to the final. We played actually we did great out there. We got to the final, played the New York Cosmos in the final. It was. And what I did, we used to have 7 months out in America and 5 months in England. So we'd go over there. We'd all live in the apartments, They got us all. All the players would be there. Mike England, who played for Tottenham, all Alan Hudson, who played for Chelsea. We had incredible players, at Seattle, and every team did. But we all lived in the apartments, and in the apartment complex there'd be a swimming pool, and we lived just down by the lakes. And so we'd go training. In the afternoon, the girls would go, or in the morning, they'd go down the lake, set up the barbecue, and we'd come from there straight back to all the kids. We all had small kids. We'd all be swimming all day and have a barbecue and sitting out on the by the lakes in Seattle. It was just an amazing time,
And during the 1982-83 season, you rejoined the Cherries, firstly as assistant manager before getting the job full time. What sort of stories do you have, Harry, from your time at Dean Court as manager?
Oh, so many stories. I mean, I came back with David Webb. David Gimp brought me back as coach, which was great for me. I enjoyed working with Webb. He was a great character, knew the game. And then David left, and then Don Megson came in as manager for a little spell. Don had been a great player at Sheffield Wednesday, and he came in with Brian Tyler as chief executive. And then we had a bad start to the season. I think we'd lost the first 6-7 games or whatever. And Brian asked me to take the team, and off we went. It was an amazing time. We ended up, we had a great beat Man United in the cup, which was a great day for us. They were cup holders, and we were a struggling third division team. The following year, we went on and won the, I think it was called the Associate Members Cup back in them days, and it used to be played at Wembley every year. But this year, we got to the final to play Hull City, who were a very good team in our division. Steve McLaren played for them. They were a very good team. And because of the Horse of the Year show that year was held at Wembley Stadium rather than the Wembley Arena for some reason, the pitch got so badly cut up that they wouldn't let the game go on at Wembley. So we had to toss for see where we played it. We ended up losing the toss and playing up at Hull. So we had to slap up to Hull and play. It was a big game, in them days. It was a game for the third and fourth division to win this cup. And we went to Hull and won. So, and on the way home, we celebrated by stopping at the services about 2:30 in the morning. What a journey back from Hull, having a bacon sandwich and a cup of tea, But it was great. We won the cup and we were singing all the way home. It was brilliant.
That sounds great. So what signings did you make whilst you were at Bournemouth? And I believe you were interested in someone who later became an England international.
What signings did I make? Well, we built a team really. That team that beat Man United were all free transfers, and but then we gradually, the following year, we went on and I put a new team together and brought in people like John Williams. Willow was a fantastic signing for me, big Willow. Richard Cook, they came in at Christmas time when we were sort of sitting second or third in the league. I took Mark Newsom to captain, Paul Morrell, Tommy Heffernan was here. They were just great lads. Tony Pulis, Sean O'Driscoll, both went on to manage Bournemouth. Mark O'Connor, great little left winger who worked with Tony Pulis wherever Tony went. Cole Richards, Trevor Haylott up front, David Puckett, Mark Whitworth. I took from Southampton. Just a great group of lads. Great, they were amazing. They did Jerry Payton, the goalkeeper, who was Irish international. I took from Fulham on a free transfer. Yeah, we went on that year and we won the league with, it was a fantastic, because people always said that Bournemouth, the story going was that Bournemouth would never ever get into. They didn't want to get into the Championship as it is now, Division 2. And when you think there was 100 years they'd never been out of Division 3 or 4, and people used to say to me, even with about 8 games to go when we were top of the league, "Oh, we know you won't go up. We know you won't." Why is that? Why? Why won't we go up? Well, because the council won't let you. They don't want champions. They don't want Division 2 football here. Championship footballs. They'll stop you. I said, how are they going to stop us? What are they going to? No, we know it's happened before. And it was like people would genuinely believe that the council would stop us getting promoted. I said, "What, they're going to walk in the dressing room and tell us to lose or something?" You know. But that was everywhere you went, you got the same thing said to you, and amazing. But we end up winning the league that year. We beat Middlesbrough here, full house. They were second. It was we beat them at home. That was a great night. The place was absolutely buzzing. And then we went to Fulham and secured promotion that year. And it was fantastic, you know, to go there and get promoted and win at Fulham, and then come back the last game of the season. We had to beat Rotherham to win the title, and we beat Rotherham, I think it was, at home to actually win the league. So we were already promoted at Fulham. That was some day at Fulham. They had to throw us out the boardroom. We had some great owners, Rodney Barton, Peter McDonough, Jimmy Craven. We had an Irish contingent involved with the club who owned the club. And they got in the boardroom after and started having and Jimmy Hill, who was the chairman at Fulham, in the end he had to throw us out because we got promoted, and we were having to sing we had to stay there all day. It was a great day.
Harry, I was reading your book in Magaluf last summer. I think a lot of my mates were taking the mick, really, that I was spending my days reading your book. But you spoke quite vividly about how when you went to Bournemouth, it took a while to get going and you struggled originally. First of all, if it was in the modern game, do you reckon you would have got the time to turn it around? And second of all, how did you... what did it mean to you to get Bournemouth to the second tier for the first time in their history?
Oh, it was a difficult job, you know, because you know, when I took over, as I say, we'd come when I first came here with Davey, where we were in Division 4, and we got promoted that first year. We had people like Trevor Morgan, Dean Mooney up front. We did, you know, Nigel Spackman. Webby had a great eye for getting players out of non-league in them days. He'd go and get non-league players in, you know. And so that was always a path that I liked to go. You know, we'd always kept our eye on non-league. And so when I became manager later on, we had people like Sean Till, who was an amazing player. I took him from Weymouth, went to Aston Villa. What a fantastic player Teely was, you know. We had what we called Peter Shearer, a big midfield player from Effin Akuku. I picked up from Sutton United. Paul Morell came from Weymouth. Mark Newson came from Maidstone. The non-league was a great feeding ground for clubs like Bournemouth, and that was and I had someone working with me called Stuart Morgan, and Stuart had been he'd managed Weymouth when Weymouth were a real great non-league team. They were fantastic, and he was a great judge of non-league players and knew every player in the non-league. And he came and worked for me as my chief scout. So we were great in scouring the non-league, you know. And that was a massive help to us, getting non-league players in. And to actually get promoted was, I could never explain what it meant to me. It was that day, you know, my dad was at Fulham that day. I'll never forget it. You know, when we got promoted, it was the proudest day I could ever have had, to actually got Bournemouth into after 100 and odd years of their history. Never, all them managers that have been and tried and never done it, and to actually be part of it and to achieve that. It was so special to me to actually get there and get in the championship with Bournemouth. Them lads were fantastic as well. I mean, my God, they were proper lads. You had to be, they could enjoy themselves. I mean, you couldn't make it up. Some of the days I had with some of them, I'm sure you might know Big John Williams now. John works for Radio Solent, does the Bournemouth games. I mean, what a player he was, Willow. I took Willow from Port Vale for £20,000, and he came in at around about Christmas time, and he got me promoted. I don't think he played in a losing game for the rest of the season. I think one game he missed, he was suspended. It was the only game we got beat on that run. He was fantastic for me. Him and little Cookie, Richard Cook. But my God, could they enjoy it? You had to be on your toes with them, because they did like a night out and a drink. You know, I remember one day. I remember going to Blackpool, and we played Port Vale on the Wednesday night. This is in a promotion year. We're going fantastic. So we got normally we'd travel everywhere, up and back up. But because we were going for promotion, we ended up playing Port Vale on the Wednesday, and we had Blackpool on the Saturday. So they said, okay, look, you can stay up. We find a hotel you can stay in the hotel, play on the Wednesday night rather than slapping all the way back, getting back Thursday in the early hours Thursday morning, going back to stay up. We go straight on to Blackpool after the game. So we got the win at Port Vale. Mark Newson scored 2 goals that night, who was my captain, 2 great headers. Straight on to Blackpool. So Thursday night, I said, Wednesday, no one's going out. I said, lads, we're at fantastic win at Port Vale. We've got that big game on Saturday. So Thursday, everybody's in bed 10 o'clock. Anyway, I'll go in the hotel. We'll have dinner. We'll sit and having dinner. And I had a mate of mine come over called Sam Ellis. Sam was a centre half back in the day. Played for Sheffield Wednesday. Played in the cup final for Sheffield Wednesday. Been a manager everywhere, Sam. He'd managed Blackpool for many years, but he was no longer the manager. Anyway, Sam come over to have a cup of coffee with me. All the lads went up to bed. And he said to me, good lot of lads, Harry. Look, good lads, your lads. I said, yeah, they're good as gold, Sam, Anyway, Sam's got his car down in the car park. So about half hour late, 20 minutes later, I go down with Sam. You could go from the car park back onto the main road on the promenade at Blackpool. Go down. I shall come down the lift with you, Sam. Sam gets in his car. See you, Sam. Off he goes, drives out the car park. I'm waiting for the lift to come down there in the bottom, on the ground floor of the car park, which is under the hotel that leads out onto the road. I'm waiting for the lift to come down, waiting. Suddenly the lift comes down, opens up, and there's Big Willow, dressed like John Travolta, big flowered shirt on. The lift opens. His worst nightmare. I'm stood there, right? He's going to sneak out. That's the plan. They're coming down. Look, we go into the car park, straight out on the road, probably heading for the local nightclub for a few hours. And there I am, by a sheer accident, waiting. Well, the lift opened. I mean, I couldn't tell you the look on Willow's face and what I said to him. I couldn't repeat what I said to him. But he went back up and he obviously told the restaurant, don't go down. He's in the car park. Don't. So that was that. They didn't get a night out. But we won on the Saturday at Blackpool anyway and went on to win the league. So that was a great year.
Just moving on to something that was quite unfortunate in your time at Bournemouth, and that is Italia 90. When you was there was a tragic incident which killed Cherry's managing director, Brian Tyler. If you're happy to discuss the situation, please do tell us what happened that awful night, Harry.
No problem. I mean, we went out to the World Cup, me and Brian, and we had tickets for every game. Brian managed to get tickets, and we had tickets for the semi-final, final, and we'd gone that night to watch a game in Rome. We were watching the Republic of Ireland play Italy, and Schillaci scored a penalty, I think, for Italy that night, and they beat. And we came out, and we had a driver. We had like a little people carrier, and we came out from the game, and we stopped to get a pizza on the way back to our hotel. And next day we were heading to, I think we were going to Naples to watch England. Were playing the Cameroon next day, and so we were all ready for that. We were going to get back. I said, so in the morning we were going to get up. They were going to do us a packed lunch at the hotel, some sandwiches and that. And I said, look, we come down, have breakfast. And then we leave here about 11 o'clock, get to Naples, have a walk round, get the atmosphere. And on the way back, unfortunately, 3 young guys, everybody was gone crazy that night in Italy because they'd won. I've never seen an atmosphere like it. People standing on cars, driving through the streets, it was gridlocked. When we finally got onto the dual carriageway type, not a dual carriageway, it was a 2-lane road, a dangerous road that went from Rome to where we were staying in Latina, and 3 young boys in a car overtook a car coming the other way. I think they were doing about 90 miles an hour apparently, and hit us head on. They all got killed. These 3 young boys, they were only 17, I think, 18, and Brian got killed. So it was, and I don't remember I don't remember seeing the car coming. I don't remember anything about it, except waking up in hospital a couple of days later. But so yeah, it was a nightmare. Brian was a fantastic man. Been a great player for Aston Villa, captain of Aston Villa. Played for Rotherham, went from Rotherham with Tommy Docherty to Aston Villa, and came here. He was a great personality, great. The club was on the floor when he came here, really, and he built the club up. got people involved, got sponsors. He'd go out and find a ball sponsor for 50 quid and get somebody to do. That's how it was back in them days. We'd get somebody to sponsor the football, the match ball, 50 quid. Great, we've got the football's got a ball sponsor. We've got some, and Brian was great and great personality and a great person, and so it was a terrible time.
When your time at Dean Court did come to an end, Harry, you rejoined West Ham as assistant manager to Billy Bonds in the newly formed Premier League. What were the early days like at West Ham?
Well, it was good. I mean, it was a difficult one for me to leave Bournemouth. I'd had such an incredible time here. And about 2 years before I left, I got a phone call from the chairman at West Ham asking me if I would be interested in being manager of West Ham. And obviously, it was a great opportunity for me to go to West Ham as manager. But I'd had I loved my time here so much. And I went and told Brian Tyler. I said, Brian, look, I've had the chairman of West Ham one. I know it's really not supposed to ring. It's an illegal approach, really, in all honesty. But they'd lost their manager. I don't know whether John had left, John Lyle at the time or whatever. It was after, but anyway, whatever. He rang me up, Mr. Kearns, and he said, well, we've got all the applications in for the job, and we didn't get the one we wanted, and that was yours. I said, well, I would be interested, Mr. Kearns. Of course I would, So I went to see Brian. I said, Brian, I've been offered the West Ham. They want me to talk to me about taking over at West Ham. He said, well, look, we better go and speak to the chairman, Jim Nolan. Now, Jim not only was he chairman, he was a great friend. He was a fantastic guy. So we go and see Jim Nolan. Jim owned a company called Blockbusters. They were little video shops he had, and he also had a kitchen fitting business. But he great guy. And so I'll go around his house with Brian, and we tell him, I said, look, I've been offered, and they said, well, he shouldn't approach you really, Harry, but look, it's your life. You've got to do it. But I thought they've been so good to me here and treated me so well. I found it very, very difficult to leave, to be honest. And I thought, I've gotten so well with Brian and the chairman, and my life was great. I loved every minute of being a manager here, And so I didn't go. I turned it down. I turned the opportunity down and stayed here. And then obviously 2 years later, we lost Brian. I came back. My life, it wasn't the same anymore. Brian had gone. The chairman had changed. The club had. I came back from Italy, and suddenly the club had been sold. And then the man who bought it rang me up. A man called Eric Groves. He'd bought behind that goal where the houses are now. They had permission to build houses. He wanted the houses. He didn't want the football club. But he used to buy property or whatever through the bank. The banks would ring him. He was a very big builder, very wealthy man. I think he was a big Aston Villa supporter. And he ended up owning the foot. And he called me up and he wanted to see me. He said, Harry, look, I bought the football club. He said, I don't want the football club. I'm not interested in Bournemouth. He said, I wanted the houses behind the goal. He said, but you got, I've got it, and you're the manager, and you got promoted and whatever. And but lucky enough, they ended up, the little consortium got together with Jim and Mr. Hayward and a little group of them, Colin Legg, and they brought the club back into sort of local men, end up the club back again. So yeah, it was a strange old time, really. I think I had 9 or 10 chairmen when I was manager at Bournemouth. People seem to come and go a little bit, But West Ham, getting back to, I've lost my train of thought there, guys. Sorry. Going to West Ham. Going to West Ham was eventually I went to West. Yeah, it wasn't the same for me. That we got relegated from the Championship, and I know people go, oh, well, we was unlucky. Like Eddie, when they got relegated, they wouldn't have gone down Bournemouth under Eddie Howe if they hadn't got them injuries. He lost a lot of key players at vital times, and and we were the same that season. We ended up, my team got decimated. I lost all the back four. We went to play at Portsmouth one day. We were winning at half time. I lost 2 players in the first half. Didn't play again for the rest of the season. It was unbelievable. I was having to play. I'm bringing kids in. Jamie made his debut at 16 at West Ham. We had injuries galore. It was crazy, So it was very, very difficult. But if we hadn't had injuries, we'd have stayed up that year. I'm sure it was just the way it had gone, But and I just decided the offer came to go to West Ham, and as I say, Brian wasn't here anymore. My relationship, the chairman had changed. Norman Hayward had bought the club. Norman was a good man. He owned Swanage. He'd come over, and he was close to Tony Pulis, and I knew that. Him and Tony were good friends, away from the football as well. And I think deep down, he wasn't too bothered. I think he always felt he had Tony here. So, I decided the offer came to go to West Ham, not as manager this time, but as assistant manager. But it was still, thought I'd had enough of managing for the time being. I wanted to get maybe out of, enjoy some coaching and be a number 2. Where there is, believe you me, the pressure when you're a number 2 is nowhere near like being a manager.
You did eventually become the West Ham manager and had quite a long spell there. There's quite a famous clip that a fan states that Scott Canham was better than Frank Lampard.
It was a difficult one that day. I mean, I had 7 years, I think, at West Ham, and we never got relegated. We finished 5th one year, but Scotty Canham was a good player, and if I could have my time again, I wouldn't have said what I said. I mean, I would stick up for Frank still, but Scotty, he came across as I didn't think Scotty Canham was a good player. So was May Holland. May Holland was a fantastic player. It was Scotty's uncle who was, and it got a little bit personal, if you like, probably. And I sort of had to go back about Frank but Scott was a good player. Went to Brentford, but Frank Lampard became a great player. I mean, what a player he became. 100 and, I don't know how many caps, 106, 107, whatever he got for England, 100 and something. 20 goals every year from midfield, just an amazing player. But we had some great young players at West Ham, and I used to love loaning players to Bournemouth. I loaned Rio, I loaned Jermaine Defoe, And when I loaned a quick story about Rio, I loaned Rio Ferdinand, and Mel was the manager, Mel Machin. And Mel rang me up. He said, Harry, I've just had Martin Edwards on the phone. He said, I don't know where they played on the Saturday. It might have been somewhere like Rochdale on the Saturday, Bournemouth. He said, Martin Edwards, the chairman of Man United, just rung. This is Monday morning. And said he wanted, would we sell Rio Ferdinand? He's asking Mel, would Bournemouth? And Mel said, he doesn't belong to us, Mr. Martin. He said he belongs to West Ham. Martin Edwards had been at the game, apparently. His friend was the chairman at Rochdale. Man United were playing on the Sunday, or whatever. It might have been Rochdale, might have been Stockport. One of those teams up there. And he'd obviously been at the game and seen this kid play and thought, my God, who's this? And went on to Mel thinking he played for Bournemouth. He belonged to Bournemouth. He rang Mel. Mel said, no, he doesn't belong to us. He belongs to West Ham. So he rang me, Martin Edwards, the chairman of Man United. I said, Mr. Edwards, no, he's not for sale. I said, he'd be the best centre-half in Europe. I said, he said, well, he must have a price. He said, would you take £1 million for him? I said, Mr. Edwards, you got no chance, not a prayer. I said, there's no money can buy him. He's a Rolls Royce. He's going to be, anyway, it's amazing that a couple of years later, they actually paid £32 million for him to Leeds. But Rio came here. Jermaine Defoe, they rung me. I think it was Mel and Sean O'Driscoll in that time. And Mel said to me he said, Harry, we're struggling. We're bottom, we're going to get relegated. We can't score a goal. He said, have you got any strikers at the club? Anyone you could loan us? I said, yeah, I've got a kid here you can have. He said, how old is he? I said, 17. He went, oh no. He said, Harry, you know this league. He said, it's a men's league. It's not for kids, I said, yeah, but he's a fantastic kid. He said, how big is he? I said, about 5'5". He went, oh, leave it. He said, no. I said, I'll tell you what I do, Mel. I said, you can take him. I'll send him down to you. You can let him come training for the week. I'll tell him he's just going down there. He's a great lad. He'll do it. I'll tell him he's going down just to have a week, just to train with you, because when he comes back, he's going to be in my first team anyway. Have a look at him. Let him train. If you like him, take him. If you don't want him, don't use your loan up. Look for someone else. I'll let him come down for the week. So he went down Sunday, trained Monday afternoon about 1:30, 2:00. I get a phone call from Mel. Can we loan him for the season? I went, well, yeah, why? Did you like him? He said, we had a practice match this morning. He scored 5 goals. Oh, really? I said, I told you he could play. And that was it. They took him and he scored first 10 games. He broke the record, didn't he? He scored 10 consecutive games. Scored in 10 consecutive games, which was amazing, But so, yeah, that was great that, I loved it when I could send people down here and sort of help the club out. And I mean, what a pair of loan signings they were, Jermaine Defoe and Rio Ferdinand. And I would think, in all honesty, we would have paid their wages as well at West Ham, because I just wanted to get them out to get experience. I wouldn't have even. But I used to love doing that. We'd come down pre-season. I mean, I remember going to Tottenham and Daniel Lee said to me, "Why are we playing for Harry? We go to Bournemouth. They're not even paying for the coach." I went, "No, they're skint. They need the money. We're going down, And that was how it was. I'd take West Ham down, and now we're going down to play Bournemouth. We can afford to coach. They haven't got. Well, why aren't we splitting the gate money? No, they need the money. So it was great that I could do. Bournemouth was always a great love of my life. The football club, and it still is now. I sat here yesterday and kicked every ball. I sit in Swansea in midweek. I'm sitting here 90 minutes. I'm the manager. I'm shouting at the screen, and I love it when they. I'm so with them. I want them to do well.
Who would you say, Harry, was the best player that you had come through at West Ham? Because you had loads, didn't you?
Difficult one, isn't it, really? When you look at that group, I'd all come out the same era, the same group. Rio Ferdinand went on to win Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, England. Frank Lampard, the same Champions League winner, everything you can win in football. Joe Cole, Champions League, Premier League, going to Chelsea. Jermaine Defoe didn't win Champions League, but great, incredible player, great England, whatever. Michael Carrick, chap probably won everything there is to win. How many titles has he won at Man United? What a player he was. Michael Carrick, fantastic. And Glenn Johnson, played in the FA Cup winning team for me at Portsmouth, won the championship with Chelsea. Fantastic England right back. 6 kids there, all came out of that same group. And when you think we hadn't had a player come through for about 11 years at West Ham that had really, apart after since Cotty, Ince, and Stevie Potts, there was a real blank. We'd had players that had played a few games and whatever, but suddenly to have 6 kids come out your youth team, and they were great days for me. I would go over on a Saturday. Every Saturday that we played at home, West Ham, I would be at Chaberleaf at 10 o'clock for the youth game at 11 o'clock. I'd watch the first half and 15 minutes of the second half, and then I'd jump in my car and do the 20-minute journey to Upton Park for the first team game, which were obviously, it's when we was at home. I never missed a youth game. I travelled to every midweek game. I went to Oldham to watch the youth team. I went to Liverpool. I went to Everton, who we played in the Youth Cup semi-final. I went to every game. I wouldn't miss a midweek. If the youth team were playing, I was there watching them kids because I knew they were the future of the club. And I think it was important as a manager. My man, Ron Greenwood, was the same. We played in an FA Youth Cup semi-final when I played at West Ham as a 15-year-old. We played in the FA Youth Cup semi-final away to Wolves on a Saturday afternoon. And it was late in the season, obviously. And Ron Greenwood, the manager of West Ham, came with the youth team that day to the Youth Cup semi-final and didn't go with the first team. Now, that's incredible, I know, but that's how much he knew that the importance of a youth policy and producing players at a football club was. There was never a game where he wasn't there. He came to every game, Ron Greenwood, and stood every youth game, he'd be there. And it sent out a message to the kids and to the parents, hey, the club are interested in the youth. And I took that on board. That was a massive part of my life as well. I went to every game, never missed a game, you know. And the same when I came to Bournemouth, I'd watch the kids play. And I think every manager, I get disappointed when managers don't take interest in their youth team. They should be there. They should take an interest. They should know them kids. And they should be there. When you're finished training with the first team, go across and watch the youth team for 20 minutes, half hour. Take an interest in them. Talk to them kids. Let them know that you're interested. They're not just a bunch. They're not just another. They're part of your club. They could be the future of your club. Take an interest in them. And not enough managers do that. I know after managers don't even bother to watch the kids play and wouldn't even know their names. And I find that very disappointing.
So whilst you were at West Ham, you signed Paolo Di Canio for £1.5 million. So what is it like coaching someone like Di Canio?
Oh, it was amazing. I took him when I signed Paolo. The headlines in one of the newspapers was Redknapp walking a tightrope with no safety net under him, and Di Canio will get him the sack, because I took him after he'd pushed the referee over, and he came in. He was just incredible. Yeah. What a footballer! He was a genius, and he was the most temperamental man I've ever met in my life. But you had to, you had to tread carefully with him. He could blow up any minute. But what a footballer he was.
So talking of Paolo Di Canio, Harry, there was quite a famous game against Everton at Goodison Park where you were drawing, and Paolo had a golden opportunity to win you the game, but he opted to stop play as the goalkeeper was injured. What was your reaction to that moment?
I wanted to kill him. And the silly thing was, and so did the rest of the players. Stuart Pearce came thundering up the stairs. He was the first one in the dressing room. And he said, "Don't let me get near him, Gaffer. I'll strangle him." And then before we knew it, Paolo was the last one in, because he'd been walking around the pitch waving getting a standing ovation from the Everton fans. He was loving it. And then I'll get dragged out and I've got to go on Sky to do an interview at 5 o'clock. Because they've got a deadline and they want to. And the guy says to me, "Harry, you must be so proud of Paolo Di Canio today." Yeah, fantastic. Really proud of him. When really I want to kill him. I wanted the 3 points.
So Harry, you moved back down south, and this time it was to Portsmouth. So a club who for years have been stuck in the second tier. How did you manage to get them up?
Well, it's my first season there, and I took over. I'll be honest, it was Milan Mandrick owned the club, and Milan wanted me to be the manager. And my first 2 signings actually were from Bournemouth. I took Eddie Howe and Richard Hughes. Mm-hmm. And they came in, and the boys came in, and Eddie was unlucky. Eddie, first game of the season, not Forest, my first full season when we won the championship. I think we were 33-1 outsiders. We were the outsiders of the whole league to get promoted with the bookies. Wow. A mate of mine rang me up, in fact, a big pal of mine. He said, "Harry, I'm going to have £1,000 each way, your team, 33-1. I went, "Alan, don't waste your money. We haven't got a prayer." I said, if we can finish halfway, I'll be delighted. I said, "We've got no team here, But I ended up taking Paul Merson about 2 days before the season started from Aston Villa. John Gregory didn't want him. He wanted him out. And we paid, I think, a fifth of his wages because they paid the rest. They just wanted to let him get rid of him. And I took him, and he was just fantastic. I made him captain. He was the best player in the league. But the first game of the season, not Forest at home, and Eddie was playing, Eddie Howe. Eddie was a good player, Eddie Howe. He should have played I think Eddie should have played at the top level. He was a real good central defender. Reminded me very, very much of Bobby Moore. I'm not saying he's in the same class as Bobby. No one was. But Eddie was a good player. I took Eddie in first game of the season. He done his knee, and it basically finished his career. It finished him. He done his ligaments, and So it was really sad. We went on and won that game against Notts Forest at home, and we never looked back. We went on that year and won the league. You know, it was an amazing season to win the championship with Portsmouth and to get into the Premier League. It was just fantastic. We picked people up like, again, you know, Matty Taylor. I remember pre-season going to looking for someone recommended Matty Taylor to me at Luton, and I went and looked at him in a pre-season game. The people at Luton said, "No, he's not good enough. He's you know, he's half a left wing or half a left back. He's not." And I thought that's perfect because I'm playing with wing backs, and that's what I played. Where I played him, and he was just amazing. He got about 15 goals, I think, that year from left wing back. But so yeah, I built a team that was. It was people that other people didn't want. Steve Stone. I took Steve Stone. Villa wanted to get, you know, they wanted him out. I took him. Stoney was amazing for me. I had a boy called Ariane Dazoo from Wigan on a free transfer. Start the season. Amazing man. What a player. You know, real good group of lads. They were fantastic.
In 2004, Harry, you traded Pompey for their arch rivals, Southampton. What was the reaction of both sets of fans, and are you ever shocked about how involved fans can be within football?
Well, listen, I what happened? I got the manager of the month on the Saturday at Portsmouth on the pitch, Premier League manager of the month. And then on the Monday, I'd had a row with Milan. He brought in a director of football, Yugoslav guy who's been a great player actually. But you know, I had Jim Smith with me, Joe Jordan with me, Kevin Bond. We were all pretty experienced. We didn't need somebody to, you know. And I said, I don't want this guy. And we had a fallout. You know, it got a bit nasty between us, and I walked out. Basically, I left. I didn't have a job to go to, just left. Within about a week, I got a phone call asking me if I would go to Southampton, and I thought, well, I've done nothing wrong. Why shouldn't I? It's up the road. It's a real good club, and I took the job. But I mean, yeah, the backlash from the Pompey fans was incredible. I mean, it wasn't a clever move looking back on it, but at the time, you know, I thought, well, I don't want to be out of football, and it's a good club. And I went there, and they were struggling in the bottom four. There was 4 teams cut adrift when I went there already. We were so far, the 4 teams were way adrift. And again, we had some great results. We beat Liverpool at home. We beat Tottenham. We just ended up 2-0 up against Middlesbrough. With the ball goes up 3 minutes injury time, and we're winning 2-0, and they got 2 goals in 3 minutes. Scored from a corner, kicked off, and Downing scored again. And that really, if we'd have won that game, we'd have stayed up. That's our, and we've got to win the last game of the season. We're playing Man United, Southampton, the week before the cup final. Alex Ferguson, who obviously loves Brian Robson, who was his captain, and you know. He's at West Brom. West Brom are playing Portsmouth at West Brom. Portsmouth don't want to beat West Brom. Even the fans were going there wearing West Brom scarves that day, the Pompey fans, because they want Southampton to go down. So it was a no. And Fergie played his best 11. Normally, the week before the cup final, he'd arrested a few, but he didn't. He played his best 11, and we got beat by Man United, unfortunately. And West Brom obviously beat Portsmouth, who weren't trying too hard. And we went down. So, and then I went the following season. Portsmouth were bottom of the league, and I got a phone call asking me if I'd go back to Portsmouth, and I said Milan wanted me to go back, and we made up, became friends again, and I went back, and I walked back into a situation there where they were bottom of the league, and I think we were dead and buried. I mean, all the good players I had been got rid of, and they'd signed the worst group of players I'd ever seen. All foreign players from all over different parts of the world, and they were really very, very poor. And I managed to make a couple of signings in the window. I took 3 lads from Tottenham, Noe Pamrol, Sean Davis, and Pedro Mendes. And I took a little Argentinian lad called D'Alessandro, number 10. He was an amazing footballer. And anyway, we went on a run 10 games to go. I think we had 18 points with 10 games to go. We took 20 points out the last 10 games, and we stayed up. Went to Wigan and won. And it was an amazing escape, really, to turn it round and stay up. So, and I loved my time at Portsmouth. I must be honest, I loved my time there. The crowd, the fans were just amazing, and the atmosphere. And they used to sing Harry and Jim. I worked with Jim Smith, you know, the bald eagle. Jim passed away, unfortunately, a couple of years ago now. And Jim was just amazing to have him with me, and the crowd for 90 minutes they would sing Harry and Jim. Harry and Jim. It was amazing time, you know. I mean, it was great. We had a great time. You know, Joe was there, Joe Jordan. Joe's at Bournemouth now. Joe's an amazing man, just quiet, so you'd have your life on Joe. He's so dependable and knowledgeable, but quiet man. And when Joe speaks, you listen. You know, he just, and I had Joe with me, and Kevin was there, and we had a great time. You know, and great group of players, and we, you know, it was fantastic. And then the following year, we you know, when I went back the second time, I built a great team. You know, we had a new Milan had sold the club, and it got bought by Russian guy, Sasha Gaidamak, whose father was a billionaire and whatever, was exiled in Israel. Hang on, Sandra's coming. I've got to sign something, guys. Sorry.
Oh, that's all
This is
right.
for the
No problem,
COVID.
Harry.
We're busy.
Whereabouts? There?
Yeah.
I can't see. Okay. So he bought the club, and you know, he was rich. He's supposed to be richer than Abramovich and all this, that, and anyway, we built a team there that was an amazing team, and we took good players. We bought in people like David James. Man City didn't want him, and they had Joe Hart coming through, and they wanted to release him. I took J-Mo, and what a goalkeeper he was.
Yeah.
I took Glenn Johnson at right back from Chelsea. Came on loan first of all, and then we bought him for £4 million. They sold him to Liverpool for £18 million when I left, but we give £4 million for him. We took Sylvain Distin, who came to Bournemouth, and we took Sylvain on a free transfer from Man City, and they sold him for £6 million to Everton when I left. What a player he was. Herman Ryderson was left back, and Sol Campbell came. Sol had walked out, you know, he'd had a bad time at Arsenal at the end. We know, I mean, he was, what a player, Sol Campbell. Just incredible player. And he'd fallen out and decided to retire. And I met him, and we took him on a free. He came on a free, and I think we paid him about a third of what he was earning at Arsenal, but he wanted to play again, and he came in. We had an amazing team, and we went on, obviously, and probably maybe the best player was a lad called Lassana Diarra, who I took from Arsenal. We paid £4 million for him. They sold him for £25 million, I think, to Real Madrid. What a player he was, Diarra. And it was a great time. Great. We went to Wembley, obviously, and won the FA Cup. So amazing. And then what happened? We the following year we were in Europe, and we played at Braga. And my relationship with the owner was different. I didn't really know him. He was a sort of I'm sure he was a nice young guy, but I don't think we didn't have a great. You know, I wasn't close to him. I didn't really get to know him. And then we went to play at Braga in the UEFA Cup. Got on the coach to follow. Stayed overnight on the Thursday night, heading back to the airport for the Friday morning, and I got a phone call from Tottenham again asking me if I would go there as manager, and I turned the job down I turned that job down 18 months, 2 years earlier when Martin Jol was a manager. I met Daniel Levy twice at his house and said I didn't want to take it. I was going to start at Portsmouth. I was happy at Portsmouth. And then he came back again and asked me to go, and this time I went. And I went in at Tottenham. Good time to go there. They had a bad start to the season. They'd played 8 games, hadn't won a game, but they had great players, and it wasn't difficult to go there and get them up the table. Anyone could have done it, you know. So I walked into a team with Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, and some good players that, for one reason or the other, had been underachieving, and we got going and picked up, and I had a great time at Tottenham.
So you took that Tottenham team into the Champions League in 2010. Is that something you expected? And what was it like?
No, it was. I was hoping. Obviously, we ended up going to the last but one game of the season. We had Man City away, and it was winner take all because we were level on points with Man City, but they had a better goal difference than us. So basically, a draw was no good.
Mm-hmm.
We had to win. We had to go to Man City that night and win. Man City had a great team. They were, Mancini was a manager, and they were. That was, the owners had come in, the new owners, and they spent fortunes on the team, and it was a great team. But we went there that night, and we ended up winning. Crouchy got the goal, and we won 1-0. So we got into the Champions League the following year. That was a great night, great feeling to take Tottenham into the Champions League.
Harry, I'm not sure many managers can say that they've managed a player that's gone on to win the Ballon d'Or. Just how good was Luka Modric?
Luka was fantastic. He was not only a great player, he was a great person. He was just an amazing man, so humble, so down to earth, just a family man. You never had a seconds problem with him. He would just, when he went home, he'd go home to his family. He wouldn't be out drink. He ain't going out drinking. He ain't going any. He just lived for football. He'd come in and train. And I remember talking about me. He came through with his family with with Croatia and Serbia when the war was on, and the family getting hiding when they were coming round and people were getting shot, and he was hiding underground with his mum. And he just appreciated everything. He was just special, and what a player. You could stand on the training ground. It was a pleasure to watch him. He'd never give the ball away. He had eyes in the back of his head, and he was just a great lad as well. And he was, at the time, Chelsea wanted to buy him, and I moved him from wide left where he played when I went there. Gareth Bale played left back, and I made a switch really that was okay, stuck out on the left where he can come in a little bit. He's not capable of playing central. But sure enough, I moved him in there, and I moved Gareth Bale from left back to left wing, and I just done that. And they both, I'm not saying I made their careers, they made themselves, but it certainly didn't do them any harm. They both went on and become great players. Gareth Bale would have been the best left back in the world anyway if I hadn't moved him, but he became the best left winger in the world.
You then, after leaving Spurs, you took the reins at QPR, and it appeared an impossible job. And you were relegated after a 0-0 draw with Reading. But you did eventually get the club straight back up via the playoffs. How difficult was that job, considering what you walked into?
Yeah, it was difficult. They had a lot of players there on massive wages that were, when I went there, they were still in the Premier, but there was a lot of lads there, the attitude a lot. It was a difficult club. They had a lot of lads that have been pushed, used to train separately because Mark Hughes was before me. Mark had a difficult job, but he had a group there that would train separately from the others because I think he thought they were trouble or whatever. They'd train it. And I brought everybody back in together because I didn't do, it wasn't my way to do it that way. And eventually, it was hard. We couldn't stay up that year. We really didn't. But the following year, to get back up again is not easy. We did that. We went to Wembley. I signed Charlie Austin. Charlie had come in and done great for me, scored goals and was fantastic. And we went to Wembley and played Derby in the playoff final. Had Gary O'Neill sent off, and we're hanging on for grim life at 0-0, to be fair, and really couldn't see us scoring. They were piling on. They were a good team, Derby, piling on the pressure, and we were hanging on. My centre halves, Richard Dunn and Nedum and Noro and Greeny and the last Bobby Zamora suddenly hit one from 20 yards into the top corner, and we ended up winning the game. It was amazing. So we were back in the Premier League. It a good night.
So I have a couple of questions as a Swansea fan. So back in, I think it was 2016-2017 season, there were some rumours about you possibly coming to Swansea. Now, was there any truth in that, or was it all just talk?
No, I don't know about that. I didn't know. I know Swansea. I mean, I must be truthful. Going to Swansea was one of that period when Swansea were in the Premier League. For me, it was one of the great away games, a great atmosphere. When that crowd was singing at Swansea, it was just amazing. I felt, that the football Swansea played, that they Liam Britton, when they used to play and he'd drop into the back four and the crowd would sing great Welsh voices in full flow. I thought it was one of the really amazing place to go and to play football during the that spell when they were in the Premier. But no, I never got offered the Swansea job. No, I never ever spoke to anybody about that one.
Interesting. And so at the moment, Swansea are obviously in the promotion race, which is turning out to be quite dramatic with about 9 or 10 games to go. So our manager, Steve Cooper, obviously quite a young manager. What would your advice be to him in this situation?
Well, he's done a great job, hasn't he? I mean, what a job he's done there. And I watched the game. I watch every game. I watched the game yesterday with Cardiff. They were disappointing yesterday.
Yeah.
Had chances late on, but Cardiff are strong, big and strong. Mick McCarthy's got them well organised. They're very difficult to play against. And so, yeah, it was a tough game. But I don't know. Listen, he's done well. He knows what he's doing. He's very, very astute. He's got Mike Marsh working with him. He played for me at West Ham. Good player, good lad, knows the game. And between them, I'm sure that they're very capable of getting up. They missed out last year, getting beat in the playoffs, by Brentford. And, it looks as though it could be the playoffs again this year for them.
Yeah.
As a Bournemouth man, I'm hoping that we get there. And if we get there, let's hope that, I'm sure you're pulling for Swansea, but I should be pulling for Bournemouth. But we've got to get there first. It ain't going to be easy. Cardiff, Reading may be on the wane a little bit. They may be catchable. Mm-hmm. Barnsley got beat yesterday, so I'm hoping that Bournemouth can make it. Swansea, I think, obviously they'll make the playoffs at the worst way, but I think maybe that top two position is starting to slip away from them a little bit.
I think so too.
Well, I'm with you, Harry. I'm fingers crossed. We can get in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about,
I'd love to see it. The football that's been played here under Eddie Howe was just incredible. I mean, what he did for this club was beyond belief. If you'd have said to me, I said to you, when I got into the Championship, I thought no one's ever going to beat that. What I did here, taking Bournemouth into the Championship after 100 odd years. What Eddie did was on another planet to that. I mean, they should build a statue to Eddie. I just think what he did at the football club was just unbelievable, really. And the football they played, they beating Liverpool, beating teams here, playing the Man City when they were at their very, very best and should have beat them that day. Went up one end, should have scored the winning goal. And then Man City broke away at the other end. And that's how the games were. Every game they would attack teams and play incredible football. Eddie, what he did was unreal, with Jason Tyndall's help and obviously Richard Hughes, and the whole group of them, Stephen Purchase, Big Fletcher's part of it. I mean, it was an amazing time here, I think, for Bournemouth. And whether you'll ever see that again, I don't know. But it was a great time, in my opinion,
Yeah, well, let's hope we can get back into the Premier League sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But one strange appointment that he had was the spell with the Jordan national side.
Yeah.
How did that even come about?
Well, I just got a phone call from Prince Ali. I thought it was a wind-up. When someone goes, "Hello, Mr. Harry, it's Prince Ali of Jordan." "Oh, yeah, how you going?" I think it's one of my mates ringing me, having a wind-up. And anyway, it was him, and what a fantastic man he is, by the way, absolute gentleman. And he asked me to go over, managed just 2 games. And yeah, I loved it. I mean, we went over, I went with Kevin, came with me, and we had a great time, you know. We played Bangladesh first game. I think we beat them 9-0. And I thought, my God, what a coach! I've come here, I've turned these into world beaters. We look like Barcelona in their prime. But then we went to Australia for the second game, and they were a good team, very strong team, good players, and they were too strong for us, and they beat us. I think ended up 5-1. But no, I loved it. It was a great experience, good experience, and nice, you know, different, something completely out the blue, really, and I enjoyed it.
You returned to England to manage Birmingham City and kept them up, which was a good achievement with 3 games left. And then it all ended quite quickly, really. I was actually at the away end.
Well, I went there. What happened? I only went in to do the 3 games, really. I said I would do the last 3 games of the season. I mean, they were they hadn't won for about 20 odd games, and they were doomed, basically. And I looked at it and I thought, I said I would do the last. They said, "Look, will you?" And I went and met the pit. I said, "Okay." At first, I said no, and in the end, I went, "Okay, I'll come in for 3 games." And I went in. I hadn't looked at the fixtures. I didn't realise that when I looked at the 3 games, I thought, "Oh my God, what have I done?" We've got Huddersfield at home who are trying to get automatic. They've got to come and win. Then we go to Villa for a local derby, and Villa are strong. And then we got a Bristol City who'd gone 10 games unbeaten and, you know, going to Ashton Gate. I'm thinking, what chance? So we had 2 away and 1 at home against a team who were trying to finish in the top 2. Huddersfield at home, first game. We have Shay Adams gets sent off after 10 minutes. We've got 10 men. You think, well, my God. And we end up winning 2-0. It was an amazing day. Then we go to Villa. We play ever so well at Villa, get done 1-0 with a penalty in the last 10 minutes, play well. Then we've got to go to Bristol City and win because all the other teams that day, the results are coming through. Blackburn are winning 3-0, not Forest are winning 3. Everybody was winning by 2 or 3 goals and we're 0-0. We need a win. A draw's no good. And we go and win the game 1-0. And so, yeah, it was an amazing day to keep them up. And then so they asked me if I would take it the following season. I said, I'll do 1 year. I signed a 1-year deal with them. I said, look, I really have retired, you know. Went back and did the year, 5 or 6 games in. It was difficult. They had somebody else there signing the players. It wasn't part of somebody was bringing the players in, not necessarily my players I wanted. The ones I wanted I couldn't get. And so, yeah, it was difficult. And after about 6 or 7, I don't know how many games in, I was gone. But, yeah, it was an experience. And again, great fans, Birmingham, big club, you know, great tradition, you know, for someone who loves and knows the game like I do. You know, Birmingham was one of the football clubs. If you were going to buy a football club, Birmingham would be a great club for somebody. You know, keep right on to the end of the road. When that crowd is singing, it's a fantastic place to be, and they've got great fans.
So you have had such a full career, both in playing and in management. How much of a difficult decision was it to retire from management?
Well, it was, yeah, I love it. You know, as I say, I'm just a football fanatic anyway. And, you know, I still sit and think if somebody rang me up, even if, you know, I don't need to work, I'm not being, but, you know, I can do what I want to do in my life now. And I'm busy with other stuff, obviously, as people keep saying you're never off the bloody telly, Harry, you know. But I still love it. And if someone rang me up and said, Harry, come back in and do, I'd probably do it because I love it. It's the buzz, it's the challenge. And yeah, I do miss it. I do miss it. You know, being with the boys, being around. Sorry I can't go and watch Bournemouth play every Saturday. I miss that more than anything, you know, taking the grandkids and going to watch the games is like all fans. I miss that an awful lot.
What would you say, Harry, is the funniest story from your time in football?
Oh, I don't know. I think I've had a few over the years, haven't I? Difficult one to pick one out now. You know, without. Paul Merson, coming to me at Portsmouth when we're top of the league, and Mercy's my captain. And he came. We played Man United in the cup, played fantastic. We're in the championship. We're top of the league that year. The year we got promoted. Mercy's my captain, my main player. We get beat at Old Trafford, play well, get beat there, and now we're out the cup. The next round we're supposed to be playing at home. I think probably Sheffield Wednesday or somebody, but they're still in the cup. So we've got a free fortnight coming up with no game. Merce comes to see me. Harry said, I've got a few problems. I said, what's the matter, Merce? Well, I've been gambling a lot, I've been drinking a lot, and I've got one or two other issues that I went, okay, Merce. And he said, can I go to Tony Adams' clinic? He said, when I go there, they sort me out, help me. I said, yeah, sure. He said, well, we ain't got a game for 2 weeks. He said, because we're supposed to be playing, and the team we're playing are still in the cup. If I go away after the game on Saturday, can I come back the following Tuesday and have like 10 days at the clinic? Yeah, no problem, Merce. I said, go and sort yourself out. We're top of the league. We want to get promoted. You're my only, you're our main man. This is January now. So I said, yeah. So we played Saturday. I said, yeah, Merce, good luck. Go and get yourself sorted out. Come back, ready. You're our captain. Get us promoted. Off he goes. Anyway, while he's out, he goes. I think he's at the clinic. I get a phone call from a friend of mine in Barbados. And said to me, Harry, I just seen one of your boys on the beach there. I said, no, I've looked well. One of my boys? No. He said, Paul Merson. No, I said, he's at Tony Adams' clinic. He said, he ain't. He's in Barbados. He said, he's there with his wife and kids. I've just seen him. You sure? He said, yeah, definitely. Anyway, the following Wednesday, Merce comes back training. I've never seen, it's January now, freezing cold, bit of snow about. We've all got bobble hats on. Merce has got the best suntan I've ever seen in my life. He's been to Barbados, so now he comes up to me. Hello, Harry. I said, oh, you all right, Mercy? He said, I feel a lot better. I thought, I bet you do. You've been to Barbados for 10 bleeding days. Now, I either have a row with him and kick him out because that's, he took a liberty, basically. But I want to get promoted. Without him, I cannot get promoted. He is the best player in the league. And he's been fantastic. He's great in the dressing room. He had a great understanding of football, and I loved him. I absolutely loved him as a person. I love him to this. I love him now. He's brilliant. And I went, Merce, as long as you feel better, that's the main thing. I said, I've got a big game Saturday. We need you. Anyway, on the Saturdays, I think we won 2-0. We got both the goals. So going to Barbados probably worked better than going to Tony's clinic. So we went on and got promoted, and he was my captain. And I can't tell you what I think of him. I love him.
If you had your time again, Harry, would there be anything you'd do differently, or are you happy how things turned out for yourself and your family?
Probably not argue with so many chairmen. I did have a habit of falling out with chairmen and arguing. If people said something, if directors said something that I thought was rubbish, I would tell them. Maybe I should have kept my peace a little bit with them, but no, listen, I'm the way I am. I've made mistakes along the way, for sure, but I've had a great time doing it.
And Mark, of course, was a good footballer as well. Do tell us a little bit more about his footballing background.
Oh, well, Mark went to Bournemouth. He came to Bournemouth. Mark was a good player. He'd have made it, in the, I think, at lower divisions or whatever. But he broke his ankle so badly, he's absolutely smashed it to pieces in a reserve game. I think it was Swansea. And had operation after operation. I couldn't fix it really. End up playing non-league for Dorchester Town, for Bashley. But he'd play on a Saturday. He couldn't walk for 4 days after. It became, So that was a shame, really. But, Mark could play. He could pass it. And young Harry, my grandson at the moment, is at Bournemouth Academy. Whether he's going to be good enough, who knows? I'm not saying he is. But he's there. He loves it. He's got a great attitude. Wants to be a footballer. It won't be through lack of trying. If he doesn't make it, he'll give it everything he's got. And he's a good lad, which is the most important thing to me. So yeah, he's there, and it would be nice if he could become a footballer.
Is there anything outside of your football career that you're particularly proud of?
I think bringing up a nice family is my proudest thing. You know, I've got a nice, been very lucky. I've been married, been with Sandra since I was 17. So, yeah, my family are all important to me, you know, and I think it's being a good person is more important than being famous or being anything else in life. Be a good person, help people, you know. If you can help people, be nice to people. It doesn't cost anything. Give people your time. I talk to everybody. I love it. If I walk up the street, I walk my dog tonight. It takes me an hour to walk 100 yards along the front of Bournemouth there. I love it. People want to talk to me about football, about anything. Have a photo. Never say no. I never ever say. I talk to everybody and give people my time, and it don't cost anything. You can make people's day. Don't be aloof. Don't think you're somebody you're not, because nobody's any better than anybody else in this. We're all equal.
So something I feel quite strongly about is mental health awareness. Now,
Yeah.
I'm interested into whether you think football clubs have a good enough setup, do enough for players who suffer with things like addiction or with mental health issues. What's your opinion on that?
No, for sure. I mean, when I grew up, we did nothing. We did nothing for it. You know, when I was a player or become a man, I'd be true. You know, someone would say, "Oh, pull yourself together. How lucky are you? You're playing football. You're getting good." That would have been the attitude. That would have been the attitude, unfortunately. But things have changed now, thankfully. You know, we have now people at football clubs who understand what they, you know, understand the issues in mental health and everything else. So, and that is very important. You know, you can't do enough to help people. If you see people with problems or you've got a problem, talk to somebody. Somebody out there. There's got to be people out there to help you. And it's so important. You know, don't suffer alone. Talk to someone. Get help. And if you do see signs with somebody, go and help them. Talk to them, and you know, help people. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I completely agree. So something else I'm interested in hearing about is your opinion on the women's game. So there was a story a few weeks ago that AFC Wimbledon were looking at appointing a female manager for the men's team. And also, do you watch the women's game at all?
Yeah, I watch women's football. You know, especially I watched the World Cup and the national games, and I watch the highlights on a Sunday night. They show you or Monday, whatever night it's on. They'll show you the West Ham ladies versus Tottenham ladies, and they'll show you the Man City, Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea have got a fantastic team, as you would imagine, because like the first team, they've got the money. They probably pay the bet. Chelsea, Man City have got the strongest teams because they put money into it. I think the only way the women's game is going to go even further is to let them. Well, I don't know why they don't play at the stadiums. I really can't see why. The pitches now, they don't cut up anymore. They do not. The pitches in the stadiums now, the Premier League and whatever, they're as good at the end of the season as they are at the start of the season. Why can't they? The first team play on a Saturday, play the women's games on a Sunday. People would go. We'd love to go. Let's go and watch the game today. While they're playing in training grounds and second class, it's not the same. Let them play. Let's use the stadium. Men's play one day, the ladies can play, women can play another day. I don't see why we can't start doing that, and I think that would be a massive step forward for the women's game.
Of course, you've carved out quite an impressive TV career as well, Harry. And you've recently got a team of legends together for Harry's heroes, such as John Barnes, Razor Ruddock. The list is endless.
Yeah.
Who were the characters of that team, and did they actually find it easy to pull the England shirt back on?
Oh, there was all characters. We had a great time. I loved every minute of being with them. I just loved it. It was amazing for me to be with them boys. David Seaman, you know, Ray Parler, Merson, as you say. You know, just a great group of lads. You know, Matt Letizia, still hitting 40-yard passes, you know. Just brilliant. Brilliant. Lee Hendry's had problems, you know. He's had issues in his life. Lee was still brilliant. You know, he's fit as a fiddle. He could still play. It was just great to be with them all. And big Razor. I mean, Razor Ruddock, what a lad, Razor. I love Razor. They were great to be around, and we had a great time. Went on tour, went to Germany this year. done the road trip, Italy, Germany, played a team of nudists in France. I mean, that was funny. I mean, they didn't. We didn't have a clue where we were going, who we were playing. We turned up and we were playing a team of nudists. For a French nudist, they were completely naked, apart from their football boots. I mean, it was so strange. Oh my God! But no, it was a brilliant trip. We never stopped laughing. Had a great time.
Great, and obviously we can't finish this interview without talking about the fact that you are king of the jungle. What was your time like in the jungle?
It was interesting. As I said many times, I never seen the program before I did it. I went in completely blind, and Sandra kept saying, "You've got to watch it, Harry. You don't know what you're doing. You can't. Are you sure you know you're mad? Why are you doing this program?" I said, "No, I wasn't." And I was going to pull out about a week, 10 days before, and I played golf with Kevin Bond. He said to me, "Harry, but you're mad. Why are you not doing it? Why would you not do it?" I said, he said, "What an experience for you at your age. Well, you can't play golf every day, November, December. It's winter. It's in Australia. What a life, what an experience." I said, "I've never seen it." He said, "Well, listen, you've got to do it." And okay. So I said to Sandra, "Look, it'd be a holiday. Come over. You in the hotel. When I finish, we can have holiday. I'll be out they vote you out, apparently. I could be out after a couple of days. We could go on holiday, have a wander around Australia. It'd be, so yeah, okay, I'm in." And that was it. But unfortunately, we didn't get a tour around Australia. And for Sandra and the people, the families, every morning at 5 o'clock, they have to be up on a coach, an little old green. It wasn't much. It was like a minibus type. Head for the jungle. It was an hour and a half drive from the hotel into the jungle where we were at 5 o'clock every morning. Had to be up on the coach by 5:30. Head for the jungle and wait around all day to see who came out. Because the family member had to be there, your family member who got voted out, so they all had to wait every day. And so Sandra, every day, back, until the last day when I came out, so we never actually, every morning, 5 o'clock up into the jungle. So it wasn't much of a holiday for her, believe you me. But so yeah, but no, it was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed it. I met some lovely people, And what kept me going, we decided that we were going to stop off in Dubai on the way home for 5 days, have a holiday, and that's what we did. And I was so all my faults when I was doing a trial and laying under the ground with the rats all crawling over me, I'm just thinking about Dubai, sitting on the beach in Dubai, and that's what kept me going, really.
You built a good relationship with one jungle mate out in Australia, Emily Attack. Was it special you both got to the final, and do you still keep in contact? And was she able to get that date with Jamie in the end?
No, Emily, no, she was fantastic. I mean, really brilliant, and they all were, every one of them, and it ended up with me and Emily. To be honest, even when they said at the end, and the king of the jungle, I didn't know if I'd won it or Emily had won it. I mean, I didn't know it would be the queen. I just thought everyone was called the king of the jungle. And yeah, she was great, and she knows she never got a date with Jamie. But, Emily was really brilliant. Her and the whole group of them, as I say, just really lovely people to be around, and we all got on so well. We all helped each other. They helped me for sure because I'm not the. I never knew what was coming next. They'd watched it all and they'd followed it all from day one. They'd never missed any of it. From John Barrowman said to me, "I've watched every series," and he loved it, and so it was great. Yeah, and really, really, Fleur was great. Flair, as I called her, Flair was great. She was always singing and dancing, and Nick Knowles. Nick could have lived in the jungle for a year, without any. He was an amazing man. He could light a fire by rubbing two sticks together. He could do anything, So it was great. It was a great time.
Final question, Harry, was with regards to Saturday Night Takeaway. If anybody's seen it, there's a fantastic clip on YouTube with you and Jamie. What did you, what was that like doing that?
It was great fun. Oh, I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, I love it. It's up my street. That's my type of humour. I love playing jokes on people. You know, I just love that. And the little guy comes in, he thinks he's getting a job as a waiter, and like we're putting him through the, you know, we're telling him all stupid things, and it was just, you know, I loved it. It really was. They're brilliant. Ant and Dec are amazing, and they're in your ear telling you what to say, so you have to say what they're telling you, really, you know. And it was funny, you know. It was funny. We really enjoyed doing it. They were great. It was a great fun to do. And but no, as I say, I love playing pranks like that, and to be part of it made me feel very young again. It was good.
Did you sign him on a Bosman?
On a Bosman now, okay, so you're Bosman, you're free. Now you're no. I work for I'm not a Bosman. And then yeah, it was great fun. Really enjoyed it, you know.
Well, thank you so much
Pleasure,
for
guys.
joining us
Good luck
on
to
this show.
Swansea. Hope you
Thank
make the
you.
playoffs.
Thank you very much.
I hope we see you at Wembley with Bournemouth.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
great.
Unfortunately for Swansea, we're going to beat you in the playoff final.
We'll see.
That's
see.
the plan. That's the dream. And Jonathan Woodgate, you know, he's got a good staff with him now. You know, he's brought in Joe, and he's got Gary O'Neill there with Stephen Purchase and Fletch. And I just hope they can do it this year. And it would be lovely to see them get in the playoffs. And it's going to be tight, but we're still in there. We've still got a chance. And it would be great if we could make the playoffs now and have a go anyway.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Harry. Any last words, Jack, Amy?
Just thank you very much, Harry, for joining us.
Nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you
Have
so
a good
much.
Sunday.
Thank you.
And you as
Bye.
well. Cheers, Harry.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye. God bless.
Bye. It was so funny, that thing with Jamie. I was honestly, tears were streaming down my face. It was just,
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you very much for having us on.
Yeah.
That's all right. Not a problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining me on this very, very special interview. Please do hit the like and subscribe buttons. Until the next video, we'll see you then.